So the wheel is a symbol of our lives. We're sometimes up, we're sometimes down. But there's one part of a wheel that never moves. What's that? The axle. And this symbolism is telling us that whether you're up and singing, or whether you're down and groaning, God's love never changes. God's love never changes. Whether you're up or down, whether you're enjoying everything or whether you're weeping over everything, God's love is like the axle of the wheel. It's always the same. That is surely very important. Then you have these figures, these symbols, a man, a lion, an ox, and an eagle. Man, the most intelligent of all the creation. The lion, the most fearsome of all the wild creatures. The ox, the strongest of all the tame creatures. And the bird, the eagle that soars above all birds, seemingly even looking into the sun itself, the eagle. And they're all symbols of things to do with God. God gave us our intelligence, and the man reminds us that we're in the image of God. God is intelligent, God knows, God understands. The lion is meant to tell us that life often seems tough, but God is strong. God can be fierce when necessary. God can overcome all that is our adversary. The ox is a symbol of suffering and sacrifice, pointed to the coming of the Messiah who one day would die for us. And God is all the time suffering for us. It says, in all their affliction, he was afflicted. And then the eagle that soars up heavenwards is to remind us that our aspirations must be Godward. We mustn't be kept chained to earth all the time. Whatever our work, whatever our troubles, we must let our minds and our prayers go high, because that's the reality. I have to write next day or two to a friend whose husband, Graham Byrne, has just died. And I taught Graham many years ago. He was a very decent man. And I have to say to her, may God be your strength, but he must also be your comfort as he reminds you that this life is only a vestibule to the real life. Do you understand that? This life is only a vestibule. The real life is yet to come. And when one understands that this life is only a vestibule, we can be comforted when the wheel is down, when things are tough. So this is full of symbolism. If you notice what it says in verse 16, each appeared to be made like a wheel, intersecting a wheel. And as they moved, they'd go in any one of the four directions the creatures faced, but the wheels didn't turn about. So the throne is going straight forward, and yet there are things in it that seem to be crosswise. That's life, that's providence. Here's Joseph. He's down in a pit. Well, the wheel is down. He's lifted out. Now the wheel is up. He's in Egypt and he's doing well because his master esteems him. The wheel is up. He's falsely accused and the wheel is down. He's in prison. He comes up out of prison and he's put on the throne of Egypt. The wheel is up. Suppose he'd gotten down when the wheel was down. Suppose he'd given up hope when he was in the pit before he was sold. Suppose he'd given up hope in the prison. See? You must deal with life as you view a wheel. When the wheel is spinning fast, you only see the rim. You don't see the spokes. And it does not pay to look too closely to the individual events, the spokes of providence. Rather look at the one grand purpose and picture. Very, very important. To Joseph, it must often seem as though he might as well be dead. And then he becomes the saviour of the world. Saviour of the world with the bread of life. Though despised by his own people and falsely accused by the Gentiles. But he becomes the saviour of the world. So in life, don't look at the individual spokes, the events one by one. Consider that when the wheel revolves fast, you only see the rim. Look at God's overall purposes. And as you get older and look back, this becomes easier. Much easier. You begin to see things that before that were very mysterious, couldn't make head or tail of. But as you get older, many of these things become like the rim of the wheel. They become clear-cut. There's a very old illustration of a woman who went into a carpet factory and picked up a carpet and said to the man in charge, "Well, this is not very pretty. Look, there are bits of thread here and thread here out of place. There's no pattern here. Doesn't look nice at all." And he said, "Madam, you're looking at the wrong side. Turn it over." And when she turned it over, of course, it was very beautiful. Be careful you don't look at the wrong side of life. Remember, whatever gets your attention gets you. And we're free to fix our attention where we will. You can keep it on TV for days, on the idiot box, and become an idiot. Or you can give yourself to the newspapers and believe they're true. I worked in a newspaper office. I remember them telling us how to get stories. Take men into the hotel and get them drinking, and you get some sort of a story. You know, there's so much that's false in newspapers. Whatever gets your attention gets you. If you choose to concentrate when the wheel is down, you'll be down. But if you believe, as this says, that the creatures go straight forward without turning, God only has one purpose, and it's onwards and upwards, and it's very good. Verse 18, the rims were high and awesome, and all four rims were full of eyes all around. It pictures a wheel that could be seen part of it on the earth, and so big it goes up into the heavens. Obviously, no one can look at all the wheel at once, and we can't understand all the providence of God at once, because we only see bits of it. And we can't judge just by the bits of it. But if we could see the lot, we'd say, this is amazing. This is wonderful. And the eyes are there to tell us that there's wisdom in providence. You notice that? Verse 18, all four rims were full of eyes all around. Eyes represent wisdom. You and I aren't very smart. We all make lots of mistakes. So many things we don't understand, and we never will till the glory land. We're not full of eyes. We only have two, and there's even a blind spot there. But God's providence is full of eyes. God's providence is very, very wise. Do you remember the story of Esther? Here's the whole nation about to be wiped out. Mordecai sends a message to Esther, do something or you'll go too. She says, well, tell the people to fast for me, meaning to pray. But she's not allowed to go into the king. But she ventures to go, and he extends the scepter of grace and says, what do you want? She says, I want you to come to a party tomorrow night. And in the interim, the king is kept awake. And he reads this history of how Mordecai had saved his life once from assassins. And in the morning, after he's read this history, comes the villain of the piece to ask that all the Jews might be given into his hands to kill. And the king says, what shall be done unto the man whom the king delights to honour? And this murderer, Haman, thinks, well, that's me. So he says, well, put him on the best horse and let him be led by the best minister in the land. Say, this shall be done, the man whom the king delights to honour. The king says, go and do it to Mordecai the Jew. What a letdown.